up a bit too. It's all good.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How are we gonna flip this around? Am I gonna have to like flip my camera around, or should we
I
not be?
think
Um,
I think so. Like it wasn't doing this last time.
uh,
That's a strange one. You might have to actually physically flip your camera.
so I'm gonna. No, I'll hold it like this. All right, I'll hold it like this for 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
God,
All right. All right. All right. We'll make it worthwhile. So, how you doing
absolutely.
over there, man?
I'm good. My older brother has joined the live. So hello, Freddie. Good to see you.
Hey, I see
Good to
you,
see you.
man.
Yeah, how's everything on your end, mate?
It's all right. It's all right. Taking a break from work to do
Uh,
some fun stuff. So look, yeah,
yeah,
I enjoy these combos.
exactly. It's just another thing you can do when you're supposed to be working, but you just need a little break. You know what I mean? I get it. I get it. I
Hey,
understand.
this is one of the few blessings that came with COVID, being able to do, being able to utilize your break time
Mm,
to whatever extent you want. We couldn't do this at the office.
I do the
So
exact same. I totally understand. But let's talk into some fights, my friend. Boxing.
yeah. So obviously, biggest controversy or biggest issue was the headliner on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know where to start. So I'm just curious to see what you think, first of all, about him losing and I guess his style of losing. Like, what was just your overall look or thought process on it?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because like the reason people love Derek Brunson, no, sorry, love Kevin Holland is because he talks shit and he like finishes fighters and all that sort of stuff. But if you lose and
Hmm.
you then like what are you like? People are gonna be like, oh, you're the mental break. It's a double-edged sword. The thing you love is also the thing that could sort of bring him down and make him look, I don't know, less good to people. I think he's very much the same. Yes, his wrestling could have been a lot better, but like what you see is what you get with Kevin Holland. Like I'm not that surprised. I think people have overreacted a little bit. Like Dana White
Hmm.
was a mental breakdown. Um, he was having a mental breakdown in the octagon. And you know what? Dana White's seen a lot more fights up close than I have, so he's probably got a good idea of what a mental breakdown may look like inside of the octagon. But it's like he's always been like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when he's lost inside the octagon, he's been like this. So if anything, I feel like it takes away from Derek Brunson, who, although it wasn't an entertaining fight, um, he did what he was supposed to do in there. You know, so
Hmm.
you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. It was it was a little cringy that he
Yeah,
was still, talking round four and round five, but it's Holland, so I didn't feel mad at him about that. Um, what it really came down to is that like it wasn't anything about his attitude or the way he carried himself. Like when you actually watch the fight, the dude lost because I think he was a little overzealous, coming off a little too confident. You could tell that when he was about to strike Brunson, it almost looked like he was lunging in and basically giving Brunson the takedown. It was like a street fight. There are certain
yeah.
exchanges that look like a street fight, and with this dude talking, it made it sound more like a street fight. So it was unfortunate to not see him really utilize a game plan. Like I really thought he'd just be, oh, there goes my phone. All right. I really thought that he'd just be striking from the distance, using his reach. Like he could talk all that smack, but then still jab the dude in his face. But there are too many points where you just saw, yo, this guy's fight IQ isn't as high as I thought it was going to be. And I don't know if it's just his, cockiness trying to mask a hole in his game, or
Mm,
if he just was having too much fun out there.
sure. I'm super interested in like his sort of fight philosophy and how he conducts himself because it's like he's like, oh, I'm not in it to be a champion. I'm in it for entertainment. And sure, if that's the way you want to do it, you're an entertaining fighter. I'm all for it. Do your thing, get paid. But there is a part of me that just wonders: is that a deflection or like insecurity or something like that? You know, um,
Mm,
because and also how far does I want to be entertaining get? Like there are dudes in there who are dying to get that title, and they'll go as far as they need to. If I just need to entertain people, or I just want to entertain people, like how far am I really willing to go in terms of my actual training and being inside the octagon? Because if you entertain people and you win, then eventually you'll get the title shot anyway. But if you're just
right, right.
like the way people sort of see, I don't even want to say that name because I appreciate him as a fighter. I'm gonna say like the way people see Mike Perry,
Right, right. Okay.
talk shit, has a wild personality. You know, I'm only saying wild because like I'm trying to go right down the middle instead of actually how I feel. But uh, uh, uh,
Yeah.
but he is entertaining. He goes out on his shield. He talks shit. He's got a je ne sais quoi about him. Not
Right,
necessarily, you know, great. It depends.
right.
It's a coin toss, but you know, there's some form of entertainment to it. So I don't want Kevin Holland to go down that road because I just think he's far more talented than that. It's just whether or not he's willing to showcase that talent, maybe buckle down and do do more than what he's required to
Yeah, I think he's such a talented dude. Like, I know he has a lot of tools in the toolbox to, end fights, not just win, but like end fights. Like, I know he's a great grappler as well. You didn't see it too much, but he did score first takedown against Brunson. That's a first, and that just kind of shows that if he really wanted to, he could probably do these things. Like
do.
if he really wanted to be a really stand-up guy or like a really good grappler. Like he could do these things, and I think he was just having a little too much fun out there. But then it was almost like near the fourth and fifth round, it started to sound like it was a mask for the insecurities. And after the third round, he's like, "I'm probably not going to knock this dude out, so why don't I just have fun?" But that's
And
not
Cole,
that's not fighter mentality. It's cool, but it's not championship mentality. You're top 10. Like
no,
there's no room for
no,
that.
I can't
Yeah.
think of like even Conor McGregor. But when Conor McGregor was like winning titles, yeah, he was having fun inside of there. But my man looked determined and was training hard for it. Now, as Marvin Hagler, R.I.P., said, it's a bit tough to train when you're waking up in silk sheets. But
hmm
when it weren't silk sheets, Conor McGregor was blitzing motherfuckers, and he was having
Yeah.
fun. But you have to be able to mix having the fun and the determination and discipline to become the champion. And again, he said he doesn't want to do that, so I don't know where his head's at. It's a strange one.
Yeah, it really is. I don't even know
Like,
who.
I could think of a million other things to do that are fun without getting punched in the fucking face. Just
Right? I guess there's the fame aspect. You can't turn that down, especially when you're
I could,
top 10 in the UFC. But
I could
yeah, you're
become a porn
absolutely
star.
right.
I could become a porn star. Be famous. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hey,
there are other options, Kevin.
of course, of course. Um, Apparently, that's not a glamorous job for a dude, but nonetheless, yes, he could have just done that for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't do it anyway because my wife would kill me. So, but it was just an idea, baby. It was just an idea, Dave. Babe, I thought.
For sure, for sure. Just give me a little shout out now. Hey, what's going on?
Big up, big up, big up, big up.
Um, all right. Next thing I wanted to talk about is like, holy shit, there were so many knockouts in Saturday's card. If
Right?
you were just so my betting website, Sports Interactions, it gives you the option to not only bet on the fighter but also bet on the outcome. So obviously you could have
Definitely.
bet on all these people knockout, and they were going to pay you minimum 2.0. And I mean, like that was a cleanup day for most people. Unfortunately, I put my bet on Holland. He let me down, but I also
Yeah.
put my bet on uh, I'm always going to butcher his name, Yanis. And
Bananas.
yeah, and because I knew that was coming, but that was beautiful. It almost looked like he unplugged Lopez without turning him off properly. You
That's
know what I
rude.
mean? Just
That's rude. Goddamn, bro.
bro, that's what it looked like. Did it not look like just when you hear that Windows sound in the background when it's shutting down? That's what that KO looked like.
You know what? Do you know what finish was my favorite one? It was the Grant Dawson versus Leonardo Santos. That ground and pound was different.
Yeah, yeah, that was some last minute. That was some opportunistic last minute ground and pound. I love seeing those moments where people are like 5 seconds left. This match ain't done. 2 seconds left. This match ain't done. It's not done. It's not done until the bell rings. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened to Santos. He was probably like, oh, 5 seconds left. I can chill.
Absolutely.
And then
Pro- you got 5 seconds left. Throwing up a leg lock is not the vibe. I'm telling you now. Like
Mhm.
as someone who enjoys getting into leg lock positions and having some fun there. If someone's throwing punches at me, I'm not going for leg locks. I've got to be like damn near 95% guaranteed that I'm gonna heel hook you or straight ankle lock you. Just
Mhm.
because defense. Yeah, you can pull up a one-handed sort of straight ankle lock, but it's not going to be as powerful with the two hands. Well, it could be, but
Mhm.
the technicalities of jiu-jitsu. But just in MMA, leg locks, unless you're Husamo Paul Harris, like if you remember Paul Harris, how like every
Yeah,
time you went for a
go
leg
for
lock,
it.
it was quick.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna do it, it has to be damn near instantaneous because you're just left too open, and that's what we saw with Leonardo Santos, you know. So, but big
Yeah.
up Grant Thornton, man, because he went in there, he had 2 seconds left, if I remember rightly,
Yeah.
and got it done.
And got it done. And like, I wonder if he got. I'm not sure. I'd have to search that, but I wonder if he got a performance of the night for that. I know it was last minute, but I mean, like, how you don't see that often. You don't see
No,
somebody like, "Yo, I'm still going to finish this fight." And that's pretty good. Like, that's the kind of fighters that you want in the UFC for sure.
I'm a big fan of Grant Dawson. This was a lightweight. This was lightweight. He's a big lightweight. Grant Dawson, and Sean Brady are the two guys at like lightweight and welterweight.
Hmm.
But I'm a big fan of at the moment. I got my eyes on those two gentlemen because I think they can be legit threats. Also, why is
Yeah.
Grant calling out Clay Guida? Why you want to bully out? Why you want to bully Clay Guida? Clay Guida is in his retirement phase, Hall of Fame esque sort of like, yo, let me just go one.
Yeah.
And Grant Dawson's like, yo, I'm here to put you into the home, bro.
I don't know. I feel like there are some people out there. So calling out people now in the UFC has become like a strategic thing. Before it's just like, yo, can we start some beef? But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you're gonna get the fans to be like, oh yeah, I want to see that. And because UFC has an entertainment factor to it, there's a chance that you could get your match just by calling it out the next day. So at the end of the day, you got to think there's got to be a strategic nature to it. So I was thinking that too. Like, what's the strategic nature to challenging Clay Guida? Do you just want to retire a dude? Or is
Nah,
it
it's the name.
because,
The name.
yeah, it's just a name?
That's all. This is all what I've said this to like mates of mine who aren't like, because I've been watching combat sports since I was about 8 years old, and I'm 31 now. Because I remember like Tyson versus Lennox Lewis, my uncle recording it and bringing it to my mum's house. And the one thing you learn relatively early is that the young eat the old, and this is a
Right.
classic of if you've been watching MMA for a long time, you know who Clay Guida
Oh,
is,
for sure.
and
For
it's time
sure.
to eat. It's time to eat. Your time is up, and it's time for this young brother called Grant Dawson to eat. And guess what? In about 6 or 7 years or so, if he's still in the UFC, someone's gonna come for Grant Dawson, some young up and comer who's probably about 14 years old right now, thinking about
Yeah.
beating the ass at lightweight. It's just the way of the world, man.
Yeah, that's true. I always thought there was there's an aspect of, especially if you're trying to call out someone who's in the rankings so that you beat them and you show up in that spot. But
Mhm.
I'm not sure if Clay's even ranked right now. Like I know he's doing great things in the sport. Like he came off his win against Michael Johnson, and
Yeah.
everyone thought that wasn't going to happen.
Not
But
that.
but I'm just like wrestling over everything. That's gonna happen, and it materialized.
A wise
So
man once said to me that if you've got any problems, no, if you're like trying to make a bet on someone, bet with the wrestler usually.
yeah, 100%. That's where I go.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know.
It's the name. You don't need to like. You can fight as many. Look at Leon Edwards. Oh no, not look at like Leon Edwards, but because I think he's only fought one dude in the 15. But like you can John Fitch. Here, there's a perfect example. Fighting dudes who were just ranked, even though they weren't rankings. But if you look at the names and you think of the times, those motherfuckers were ranked. And you just keep going and going and going and going, and he didn't even end up getting a title fight at the end of that run. I think it was Johnny Hendricks who knocked him out at the end and like ended completely deaded that run. So
Hmm.
you know, you can fight as many ranked dudes as you want, but if you take out a name and do it in impressive fashion, that's just as important, really, even more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's true. Especially because you can't discredit Guida. Like if it was like I love the dude. So if I doubt you're watching this right now, but if it was like someone like BJ Penn, for example, and they're just like, yo, I want BJ Penn. I'm like, yo, BJ Penn's done. And there's certain fighters in the sport that are like, this guy's done. Why are you calling him out? But I just realized now Guida's not done. And Guida could be a gatekeeper for quite a while. So hey, that might be a decent call out for sure.
Hold on a second. I want to see how old Clay Guida is, because I believe that man has some miles on his body and his brain. Clay Guida is 39 years old. No, 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 no. He's got maybe a year or two left.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I don't want to like that gatekeeper. That gatekeeper sort of role may end relatively quickly. Just think of the battles Clay Guida has been in
He's been in
during.
some wars.
He's
Been in
taken
some wars.
ton of punishment. So
Hmm.
it's a sticky one still. It's going to be an interesting. I get it, and if I get why he chose that fight, and if he wants that fight, then cool. Because I understand why, but
Hmm.
the lightweight division is so stacked that you can pick anyone, man.
Yeah. Speaking of the lightweight division, that was my next one.
Mm-hmm.
Fight news: Chandler versus Oliveira.
Yeah.
That's huge, and just curious about your thoughts, especially because the lightweight division is so mixed up. You have your top six that could probably fight each other for the next 2 or 3 years, like
Mm-hmm.
just a cycle. Do you think that those were the two people to be fighting for this title?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
why is that?
The reason I think so is because, and I know I was speaking to a few people who were like, "Yo, Justin Gaethje should have got this title fight," and and if you put
Mm,
Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje together, I'm cool with that. I want to watch that shit. That looks great. However, Justin is just coming off of a loss.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
coming off of a loss. Charles Oliveira is on like an 8-fight win streak. Can't
yep,
deny that. Tony Ferguson, who was on the cusp of a title shot. Michael Chandler had an extremely impressive fight against knockout win against Dan Hooker. So yeah, sure, I can't
yeah,
complain about that. And also I find it rather interesting because I feel like I've seen both men break a little bit. Definitely
What do
Charles
you
Oliveira.
mean? Yeah.
Um, like if you like when you do any sort of like grappling, I've never really done much in terms of striking, but I know in grappling you can you can sense when someone's broken, like they've mentally broken, and then you can sort of have your way with them.
Yeah.
I've seen it a few times with Oliveira. I think I'm gonna say, but I've seen that with Michael Chandler when he fought. Was it Will Brooks? I think Will.
Okay, back in Bellator, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think if I remember rightly, Will Brooks might have broken him a little bit, but I don't see it too much now. Um, but I think it would be a really interesting battle because striking wise, I think Michael Chandler can knock out Charles Oliveira.
yeah,
But Charles Oliveira has improved his striking tenfold since big up Diamond Alliance MMA. Sup, bro.
yeah.
Uh,
I wanted to
I
give Mustard MMA a shout out. I'm sorry I didn't get to that in time, but thanks for the shout out while you guys were on. But yeah,
exactly.
continue.
Like I see, like I could see Chandler knocking out Oliveira, but at the same time, um, if it goes to if there is somehow because I don't see Oliveira taking Chandler down, so it has to stay standing. Oliveira has improved his striking, but Chandler is such an athlete and so dynamic with in every aspect, whether it's wrestling or striking, that it's difficult to pick against him in that area. But if it goes to the ground, man, I see Oliveira doing bits. But I just
Yeah,
don't think it will. So I've got to go with Chandler. Bet with the wrestler.
yeah. Always go with the wrestler. I guess even when they're striking, go with the wrestler because you know what? You're absolutely right. I don't think any of these guys would want to take it down.
Nope.
Chandler risks getting submitted, but Oliveira risks being sat on for 5 rounds. Like that could happen even if you're trying to throw, triangles off your back. If you're unsuccessful, that's not a good look for 5 rounds. So they probably keep it standing. And yeah, if Chandler gets a nice clean walk-off knockout, that's great. But if it's like UFC 4 where you knock a guy down and he's able to get back up, um, like I think that's how it's gonna have to be played. I don't think Chandler's gonna want to get into this guard and try to finish this guy off. Like he's gonna look for that nice clean walk-off knockout.
It should look something similar to Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan. Oh, sorry, Petr Yan versus Piotr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling minus a fucking illegal knee. Just because
Right.
you've got one dude who clearly wants to initiate the grappling with like he's willing to be taken down just so you can spend a bit of time on the floor so we can initiate the grappling. And you got one dude who's like, yo, I know what your game plan is. I'm not going to jump into it. Do I look stupid to you? So
Yeah.
it'll be an interesting sort of battle. I wonder what Charles Oliveira brings to the table in trying to get it to the area where he's more proficient, if you will.
Yeah. I feel him trying to get in as much as possible, trying to just tire him out, put his body on him, but getting caught trying to come in, and so that's the exchange that I see happening. We got a few minutes left, so wanted to jump into this weekend's card because it's a
Okay.
gigantic one. We start off with Stipe versus Francis. Um, Another interesting one, or one thing that I've noticed that is that we have some really, let's call them really top fighters coming back and fighting after recent losses. We have Woodley coming back, and we also have Shane O'Malley coming back as well in this card. So I know
Woodley,
we talked.
fire. Hmm.
Yeah. So I always screw this guy's name up, but it's Vincent Luque, right?
Vicente Luque, my
Yes.
guy,
Okay.
assassin. Vicente Luque is a modern day version of Carlos Condit.
Nice. See,
All of
there's so many fighters within the division that it's just like crap. I just don't have time to research everybody as much as I love this sport so much. And so you see people rise in the prelims, and you're just like, oh crap, you're number 7, and I don't even, or number 5, or whatever it may be, and I don't even know your name. And so Vincent, unfortunately, is one of those guys, and
Mm.
he's fighting Tyron Woodley, and Woodley, as you know, has been fighting sharks, like sharks after shark.
He hasn't.
And
He's lost his last 14 rounds.
yeah, so, like I get it. Like that's not something you want. Nobody ever wants that, but you gotta understand it's not even like usually when you screwed up that bad, they give you like a number 10.
Mhm.
something that you could like rebound on, get your confidence back, and then rise back up. After Kamaru, they gave him Gilbert, and then after Gilbert, they gave him Covington.
Mhm.
It's like shark after shark after shark. If this guy had holes in this game, he never had the chance to like improve them because it's kind of like fighting your attacker and knowing that you won't have a chance to like actually like breathe and recuperate and actually utilize some of the game plan that you've learned to the gym. Like the second you get inside with sharks, you're instantly on the defensive. And it kind of sucks to not see Woodley be his regular self, his offensive self,
Mm.
and always going to his default defense, and that ends up losing it for him.
I don't think Woodley can hit that gear again because I believe Kamaru Usman took his soul. It happens to
Yeah,
damn near, it happens to damn near every fight. That man took his soul and he hasn't been able to get into second gear since.
you're absolutely right. And it's really unfortunate. I think he was just outclassed. He was just outclassed. So I could imagine, yeah, that's going to create confidence issues. Even though you're still a great fighter, it's going to
Mm.
affect that confidence.
Remember, Woodley's from a different generation of welterweights. Like
Hmm.
he was fighting in Strikeforce when Nick Diaz was a thing. KJ Noons, all them man. He was in the UFC welterweight division. He fucking knocked out Josh Koscheck. He may have took Josh
Yeah,
Koscheck's song. You know what I mean?
he
Like
did.
he's
He
been
did.
around for a while. So
Hmm.
old, even though Kamaru Usman isn't exactly young, he is a different generation. So you know the young eat the old. It be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what are you
Hello,
thinking
man.
about this one then? Because now I'm really, really curious. Because
Oh,
so
Lupe,
when I,
decision.
yeah, that's
Smooth.
it. So like
Luke, the
usually when I
problem.
look at these kind of matches, especially with someone who was a top tenor, but then he's lost quite a few,
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm doing like a comparison, especially when I'm betting, there's always number three factor on my list is the motivation factor. And a motivation factor comes into play where you have your back against the wall, you can't lose again. It's just not going to look good on you, and like your confidence probably couldn't handle it. And we see a lot of people who are on the fence like come back, and unfortunately the name escapes me because it's driving me nuts. Oh, Anthony Smith.
Oh
Anthony
yeah.
Smith being down two, had his back against the wall. It's like I gotta
Young
win
Boy.
this, and then he did it.
Young
And
Boy.
so perfect example. So now I'm looking at Woodley. Like is Woodley like this motivation factor's got to give him some edge, but I'm just not sure how much.
No motivation. Man,
Oh no!
he's done it all. He won the Strikeforce title. He won the UFC title. Do you know what I mean? Like this guy
Right.
has the motivation is to be the champion. If you've already been the champion and you know in your deepest of hearts that you will not beat the current champion, why are you motivated?
Yeah. Why are you
What
doing it? Yeah.
is it
Eh?
the money? Cool. Like, fair enough. You're earning like what, 200 grand or something like that every fight. Cool, man. I understand that. But like against a dude who isn't earning that much and hasn't had the title or the title shot yet, and can still become something. Who's the more hungry person?
Yeah. That's true. You're absolutely right. Like Woodley does have a good motivation factor, but obviously this Luke has a factor of I gotta beat Woodley.
Mm.
Like Woodley has nothing left to prove. There's only a few select people in the UFC who are still fighting but really don't have enough to prove or anything to prove. Connor falls in that category for me. He's got nothing left to prove, but he's still in it, and I think that's just warrior heart or warrior mentality. But I don't want to see him lose, man. I don't want to see Woodley lose again. But I agree. Like I don't think the motivation factor is strongest with him as I originally thought.
Well, let me make it a little bit easier for you. It'll actually be over 3 rounds instead of 5 this time.
That's just shorter amount of time, which just means more output, which means probably a lot more blood. All right.
Potentially.
Yeah. So we've hit our half hour moment. I gotta. I'm gonna be a lot more efficient with getting through our list next time because I wrote down a whole bunch of topics and a whole bunch of things I'd love to pick your brain about. So,
It's my
but
fault. I
I
talked too much.
hey, I love the liberty of our conversation. So it's all good. But next time, and I'm sure we're gonna have a lot more to talk about after Saturday.
Most definitely, sir. Until next Monday.
Next Monday, I'll talk to you then. All
Bye.
right, peace.